I mean, it can start from anywhere, right? Like you get too many wage and hour claims. You get too many worker comp claims. That could open a red flag of a door, right, for an audit. You have a dispatcher who used the wrong terminology and now they're opening an audit because they want to see what they're saying to these drivers. It can really start from anywhere, right?
Yeah.
We're talking with a prospect right now and he's like, I'm really compliant. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like you might be, but in your, maybe some of your programs are, but do you know if your dispatcher is and what they're saying? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, you know, Open Forces help to build from A to B to C to D, like from the whole program, right?
Maybe fairly new to the space or just trying to, just hearing about misclassification and the impact of it. How do these things start out? Because I think people have this misnomer that, it's got to be some big company, some big issue. But in my experience, they start off very, very small, a little bit of issue you never would think would blow up into what it does. But in your experience, what have you seen that was like the catalyst for some of these big lawsuits?
Yeah, we saw a demo once where a client, a prospect was looking, saying, okay, can you guys do something similar? And I watched and I said, okay, I'm watching this message go back and forth. And that right there, you just created evidence for misclassification.
Okay, so are you going to jump into this? Are you going to talk about this? Or are you going to kind of stay on the sideline and watch it happen?
This is Wendy Greenland, CEO of Open Force. You are watching the Last to First podcast.
I want to thank you for taking this ride on the Last to First journey with us. In 6 months, we've achieved over 200,000 views across all our platforms. We're humbled and thankful for your support. But I do have one small favor to ask. Take 5 seconds, hit the like button or subscribe. Just like your on-time performance metric, this one matters to us the most. It helps us attract better guests and bring you deeper content to help propel you on your Last to First journey. And if your brand aligns with our mission, reach out to us. We'd love to find ways to partner and work together. Now back to Last to First. Last to First family, we are back with a in-season exclusive. This is one we've been trying to get done for a while now. I'm not gonna lie, I'm super excited, a little bit nervous because we got a 2 versus 1 today, and I haven't done that yet, but we'll see how I do. Y'all let me know in the comments later. But we got 2 very, very special guests here today. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves in a second, but you're talking about 2 powerhouses in the final mile delivery space, 2 females in logistics, which we're gonna talk about that a little bit here today, but beyond whether they're females or males, they just are on their game and they take it to another level, everything they do. And so we got some fun topics today we'll get into. We got some serious stuff. We got some stuff I know y'all want to hear about, and we will address those elephants in the room. So Last to First, here we go. Miss Wendy Greenland, the CEO of Open Force, and Miss Carly Fleischer. What's your title now?
Well, it's a little bit of a mouthful, but Senior VP of Enterprise Sales.
SVP of Enterprise Sales.
Yep.
So welcome to the Last to First podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for being here. We're in sunny, hot Phoenix or Scottsdale. 113 today?
113 today.
113. So I'm a New Orleans boy. I thought I could deal with heat. And walking around outside, I was like, it's pretty damn hot here.
Yeah. It's not humid at all. And people say, well, it's a dry heat. And I say, well, an oven is also a dry heat, and it will cook your dinner. So you've got to be really careful here.
Yeah, you can put a steak out there. I think it'll be well done by the
That's
time
right.
we come out
Bake
here.
those eggs on the ground.
That's right. Yeah.
Good flight in today?
Yeah. It wasn't bad. It was already like 90 when we landed, so.
Yeah, I had an early start this morning as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to do some behind-the-scenes stuff on this, so hopefully it's come out already. So y'all have seen that already. But so let's get started. We ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So let's address the first elephant in the room. And I'd love to start with you, Wendy, but I got to shift gears here.
I totally understand.
Carly, you are the first repeat guest on the Last to First podcast.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I feel a little honored. Not gonna lie.
And I referred to you as CJ the DJ
Yes.
on the last episode we filmed.
Yep.
But you got some different turntables today. Some different
yeah.
logo on the shirt today.
I do. I'm not sure I'm a DJ right now. But
I don't know. So let us know, how'd you get to Open Force? Give us some update on what's happened since a few months ago.
Yeah. So last we talked, and I was with Walmart. No shocker, but I've been actually talking with Wendy for quite some time. When we got acquired, even before that, I've known of Wendy. Wendy has known of me. A fun little story is we were at a really long story long is we were at Home Delivery World, and she did a speech, and one of her one of her clients came over to me and was like, "Hey, I love the speech you just gave over there." And I'm like, "So glad you love that. That was totally Wendy, but come by her booth. Happy to sell you." But I was like, "Hey, go grab a hat of theirs over at their booth. I'm going to dress as her for Halloween." So a story I just told Wendy that I got to dress as her for Halloween, as her direct competitor, by the way.
Interesting.
Back in the day. But so I've known Wendy for a long time, and when we got acquired, she was, putting the feelers out there. And then some shifts happened at Walmart, and I am truly passionate about this industry. I truly care about the relationships that I've grown, and also just the ICs themselves, and seeing what Open Force has done and what they're building for these independent contractors. When the opportunity presented itself with Wendy, it was my chance to jump. So I jumped, and I'm all in. So here I am. I'm back.
All right.
And
you're back like you
as
never
a vendor.
Left.
Not a client again. So yeah.
Good. Well, glad to have you here on the pod. Again, as I said that earlier, and I know you're going to bring a lot of good things to Open Force. Everywhere you go, you find success. And so I'm sure Wendy was on the hard trail recruiting you and getting caught in.
Absolutely, yes.
Excited about having her here?
I've been following her career for a while, and just watching what she's doing. I did not know she dressed as me for Halloween until just very recently. I asked her for some pictures, but they carefully did not take any pictures of that event. But yeah, following what she's doing, really impressed with the work that she's done, the passion that she brings, not only to her job and the companies that she works for, but to the industry and what she's done with the ECA. So of course, you're always looking for top talent and trying to recruit the best of the best. And we felt Carly was in that realm, and she also was a woman. And I love watching women, especially in industries like this, where there aren't as many voices in the room, and watching what she's been able to accomplish. We really wanted to bring that onto our team. So.
Well, and I will add to that too. Like this is my first chance to ever actually work under a woman CEO, and that was very much a lot of people in this industry had a lot of nice and great things to say about Wendy, but just like her and the way she's moved as a whole, I've always respected that. And so it was finally my turn to say, okay, this is my chance to work under a woman CEO, and I haven't regretted it. So,
I'm going to jump ahead because I was going to say this later, but we were at an event last week, and one of your staff members was at this event, another female, and she was telling me about how she was nervous at a recent speaking engagement she had. And she said Wendy was calling me or texting me right before I went into this event, kind of giving me support, encouraging me, and even saying like, hey, if you're not comfortable, let me know. We can do something else about it. And she said, I've never had a CEO care that much. So credit to you. I want to get into your whole story in a second, but it's true. I mean, what Carter just said, you hear from other people. I've watched you from afar over the years. We've had certainly have a few conversations that I've appreciated.
Yeah.
And so really, really excited to have you here on the podcast. All right. So with that said, you're in a hot seat now.
All right. I'm ready, Jason.
You ready? So, but first, before we get into you and your story, let's talk about Open Force, just high level. A little history of Open Force, how many drivers or contractors you guys work with today, and just a sense of the business, kind of what you're excited about in your role as CEO of Open Force.
Oh, Open Force is a fantastic company. It was started in 2001, so we're 24 years in. Next year is our 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
Look out for that.
Yeah. We are excited about next year, and maybe a big party or something. We don't know what we're going to do yet, but a lot of years working with a lot of client companies, and hundreds of thousands, actually millions now, we're over 1 million, of independent contractors that have come through our platform that we've worked with to not only help them grow their business, but also for the client companies to make sure that we're helping them mitigate the risk of misclassification while getting those independent contractors onboarded successfully. So a lot of incredible stories of independent contractors that have grown their small businesses into client companies that are actually out closing business today with fleets of trucks on their own. And it's just an incredible value proposition as an organization, but an incredible why that we have, an incredible purpose in helping to grow small businesses in the United States and now Canada as well. And we strive to really provide the tools and resources for those independent contractors to grow those small businesses.
You know what I love about that, because when you talk to people in this industry, a lot of people got their start by just being a driver.
Yep.
I mean, everyone you talk, most people you talk to, that's how they started. And what I love about what you said is over 1 million drivers now, but more importantly, they're now becoming masters or their own carriers and affording other opportunities to other people in the space.
Yeah.
Which is how my parents got started in this industry, was, one car and kind of grew themselves up from there. The question I have around that is, when you look at, and this is truthfully one of my frustrations I have with the industry today, is that there's never been a time we have more and more opportunities coming into the same day, final mile, last mile space. But it doesn't seem like the volume is necessarily connecting downstream to drivers, carriers, master contractors. Do you see Open Force being a catalyst for those companies being able to take advantage of what we see happening in the marketplace today?
Yes, absolutely. So the market has shifted. You know, obviously post-COVID, things are really changing, and the independent contract workforce, having workers that are 1099, that are out doing their own thing because they want flexibility, they want business ownership, they want multiple income streams. It's a different workforce than it was. And so I think in 2017, it was 37% of the market, and they're projecting it's going to be over 50% here in the next few years. That's a fast and growing industry. So within the human capital management space, Open Force is a niche within the niche of the 1099 space, and where we fit is really in the highly complex workforces. And so those that, it's one thing to deliver groceries or to sit in front of a computer as an independent contractor. A lot of gig workers out there are doing things like that every day. They're doing side hustles, and it's an incredible way to make some extra money. Teachers and those that have those types of schedules, they want to be able to do that. But when you are delivering a refrigerator into someone's home and you're crossing that threshold, it's a different level of complexity. And so you're going to have teams that are working together to get that refrigerator delivered, but they're going to need a box truck, and they're going to need insurance, and they're going to need heavy compliance in order to make sure that their background check is clean, and that their drug screen is clean. So there's so many things that have to happen, but not just for the independent contractor. Now you've got subcontractors, you've got helpers, you've got other people that are in and around that truck, and that's a lot of complexity, and that's where Open Force really has striven to be the number one in the industry, because the heavy complexity, the heavy insurance requirements, those are the enterprises where we play at our best.
I'm not saying if you're looking to scale, and in this market in this day and age, it's with minimum wage going up everywhere, how expensive everything is. Obviously, that's why also independent contractor status has taken off too, right? For companies that want to scale and things like that. So to do it compliantly and do it right, that's where it really helps, especially with the complex work that you talk through. So
in addition, it's getting riskier and riskier to do this business. And so the lawsuits are getting bigger. The verdicts are getting larger. We're talking millions and millions of dollars. DoorDash had a $100 million lawsuit. Instacart had a $46 million lawsuit. Dog sitters had a $18 million lawsuit with Rover. These are big numbers. These are not small numbers. And the risk is getting larger, and it's growing in every industry. So I don't know if you're aware, but we don't just serve drivers. We serve other industries like call centers and home care providers. And we have cat sitters on our platform, and we have massage therapists. And any industry where there's complexity around compliance and complexity around insurance, we play well. And when you add in the state requirements for the independent contract workforce to ensure that they really are an independent worker, like in California, the ABC test, or federally, obviously, the economic realities test. There are a lot of different state and sometimes even city and local jurisdictions where you have to be able to prove classification. It's getting more and more complex. and yet this is a large and growing industry. And so, yes, Open Force is uniquely positioned to really have a big impact in this industry.
Yeah. Give me a couple examples. You mentioned some really large numbers with some lawsuits. For anyone in the audience that maybe fairly new to the space or just trying to just hearing about misclassification and the impact of it, how do these things start out? Because I think people have this misnomer that it's got to be some big company, some big issue. But in my experience, they start off very, very small. A little bit of issues you never would have think would blow up into what it does. But in your experience, what have you seen that was like the catalyst for some of these big lawsuits?
Yeah,
I was gonna say, it can start from anywhere, right? Like you get too many wage and hour claims, you get too many worker comp claims. That could open a red flag of a door, right, for an audit. You have a dispatcher who used the wrong terminology, and now they're opening an audit because they want to file, see what they're saying to these drivers. You're paying them through the same workflows, right? Through the same platform.
Yeah.
Anything like an audit, it also determines, I think, what auditor you're going to get and what they're after, especially after the ABC prongs, depending what state you're in. It really can. It's a loaded question, down to like it can really start from anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And I was joking, and I know this prospect definitely watches your podcast, so congrats there. But
Who are you? We're looking for you.
We're talking with a prospect right now, and he's like, I'm really compliant, and I'm like, that's awesome. Like you might be, but in your maybe some of your programs are, but do you know if your dispatcher is and what they're saying? And he's like, I don't know, and I'm like, Open Force has helped to build from A to B to C to D, like from the whole program, right? Where you get into the buy versus build. And they have all different types of programs that they're using for their drivers, right? You have, let's say, Fountain. You have a different payment platform branch, right? Now you're having different platforms where Open Force is one platform through and through. So when you do go through that audit, we're able to prove everything, right? From start to finish, from timestamps to everything, that you can show that you can reject orders. Because does an auditor might ask, do you have the ability to reject an order? If you don't, that might be what hurts you.
Yeah.
So there's so many things I'll let you add on to that.
Yeah.
Just a couple of things. There's a couple of most common. We call it a heat-seeking missile to misclassification, and
I like that.
It's usually a work comp claim.
Okay.
If an independent contractor files a work comp claim, they often most likely do it innocently because they're in the emergency room. They've got a fracture. They drop that same refrigerator now on their foot, and it's fractured, and it looks like it's gonna take surgery. And the nurse may even say, "Hey, you want me to help you file the paperwork?" So they're in that, and it's very simple, right? It's very easy. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So they file a work comp claim. That work comp claim gets denied because they are an independent contractor. That denial, if you don't have a contingent liability policy that rides over the top of the work comp and the occupational accident, that is where you start to run into trouble, because the moment that denial comes, the independent contractor goes, wait, what? I thought I was covered.
Yes.
They said I was covered. What, I'm not covered? Because they don't always understand those coverages and how they work. And so then they start looking around, and they're looking for their brother-in-law's friend who happens to be an attorney, and they say, hey, we have a lot of misclassification going on. You should have been a W-2. They should have covered you under work comp. Let's go after. So now that's a very simple example, and it happens all the time. The way Open Force works is that there's a contingent liability policy that steps in and says, and we call the IC through our we have a Blue Star that calls the IC, and they say, hey, you get yourself taken care of. Don't worry. You're covered. The paperwork was filed this way. We need to move it to this. We're going to help you behind the scenes. We're going to make sure you're covered.
Intercept it.
We intercept that. And so that way, that independent contractor is taken care of, and they know they don't have to worry, right? You know that when you've got big medical bills coming your way, the stress, and you're trying to take care of yourself, and you're trying to get better, there's a lot of stress that comes in. That's probably the fastest path to misclassification. Now, the other thing that happens when they deny that claim, there are a lot of state and federal agencies that have MOUs, those memorandums of agreement, where they talk to each other and they say, hey, did you know this work comp claim over here was denied? And so then the auditors begin to come in and the auditors start to say, well, let's just see how your program's running. And when they do that now, going back to what Carly said, you have to be buttoned up at every stage of the life cycle of an independent contractor. It cannot just be enrollment. It cannot be just insurance. It cannot be just the background check. It has to be every single stage, including how you recruit, what's on your website. We've gone to our clients' websites and we're like, oh, that'll get you in trouble. All the facts begin to build up against you in an audit. And one of the very first things they ask is, how do you pay your independent contractors? And if you're paying them in the same payroll system, if you think you're going to make it all work for efficiency's sake because you're building it in-house and you think you can keep it all under control, well, sometimes it doesn't matter how clean that is. If it's in the same system, they're going to say it's a W-2 employee.
I've actually, unfortunately, and I can say this now because I'm not in the business anymore, but both of those things have happened to me. We've had an IC who got injured, filed a work comp claim. We've also been subject to a Department of Labor audit literally months before we were about to sell our business. You can imagine that wasn't a happy day. Fortunately, got through both of them successfully. And I will add, right when I was probably maybe a few years after I came into our business, we switched from a previous provider to CMS at the time, which then became OpenForce. And I remember going through the process. My mother was the one really kind of leading this effort at the time. And what we really liked was the technology and really the onboarding mechanism where you really, you covered your ass, really. I mean, that's really what we loved the fact that it was very transparent, it was visible, it was not a lot of ambiguity about what was happening in the relationship, et cetera. But I want to go back to a couple of points because you mentioned earlier that oftentimes the driver may not understand that they are an independent contractor. What does OpenForce do to help clear that, make that more transparent? Because I do agree with you. Like most people, they come in, they probably heard about it from a friend, they want to make some quick bucks, side hustle, et cetera, and they're not really reading the paperwork, then just kind of, signing off. What steps are you taking to help these individuals know exactly kind of what they're getting themselves into?
It's a really good question. So this is a battle that we are fighting every day at because independent contractors are so busy that when they're kind of going through the enrollment, especially as efficient as we get it, as quick and efficient as we get it, with efficiency sometimes comes risk. And so ensuring that they watch and the videos and understand and read the material, that's sometimes the hard part. So breaking it down into simple videos, things that they can watch, that they can understand, to say, you're an independent contractor, and this is what it means. And this is the great part about being independent. And here are all the things on the marketplace you can now take advantage of. The cash advance options, the medical, dental, vision, all the things on the marketplace you have. But in addition, you have a responsibility with the insurances, on the occupational accident for your accidental health, but also cargo or general liability. And in this case, you want to take this contract. These are the requirements, and this is what it means. It is really difficult sometimes to get them to stop and engage. So we try things in our mobile app, trying to get them to engage and understand. And most do, but some still don't, even with all of that work that we put into it.
You've had a lot of experience with this.
Yeah, I was going to say two things just on top of that. It really comes down to our clients' needs too, and we allow them to set up and customize their workflows in the onboarding flow. So sometimes clients will say, hey, I want to add a few extra steps so they can ensure that they understand the relationship with us, right? That they're truly partners. And so there are some clients who have a little bit more of a workflow that can make it a little bit longer for them to get onboarded, but that's because they want to ensure the safety of, hey, I want to make it clear of this relationship. But then two, also there's a lot of fun partnerships that we're working on. So we're also looking to partner with and build that we're excited about to also add education coming probably early next year that will be integrated in our systems to add additional education, which I'm excited that will be coming down the line too. So
I want to circle back around. You mentioned the proof points you needed for the audit that you guys had. That audit trail is critically important, and what we're building through the workflow it proves the model, right? And so what our risk tools design, it's efficiency, yes, right? Speed to onboard, yes, all of those things. But it's really about proving the relationship.
Correct.
And so you can be as efficient as you want, but you've got to balance risk and efficiency. It's always a delicate balance between risk and efficiency. So we can prove a good model, we can prove a bad model.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all about you as the client
model,
company.
yeah.
It's your model. We don't get in the mix of your model and say, hey, we offer up best practices, but we prove the model and the way the workflows are designed, and they're so robust that you can prove just about anything you want to prove.
Yeah.
In the state of California, for example, we have a whole massage therapy company where they're proving that their businesses, they have websites, they have business cards, they have, and so all of these questions are happening in the workflow in California in order to prove in case there's a misclassification or an audit in California to win against the A and the C prong.
Right.
The B prong is how your business is built. Okay,
Which is
so
all on
we
you.
can help with the A and C prong, right?
Yeah.
So there's no silver bullet out there for misclass. There are ways that you create proof points in order to prove that your model is a good model, and a series of facts in the life cycle of that independent contractor that will win either in an audit or in court at some point.
So you spoke about the B prong, which I've never operated in California, and I don't know if I want to.
I'm
But
from California, everybody, just so you know.
yes,
It's
you
a fun
know all
state.
about this. But the question I really had was, when you talk to some, most time it seems larger companies, and I asked them, do you use a third-party administrator? And like, no, we don't use one. And I said, well, why not? Well, we don't think we need it. We don't think that it's really an advantage to us if we have to go to trial, et cetera, et cetera. So on one hand, they're saying like, it's on us, right? It's not on anybody else. It's kind of what we do, how we operate. On the other hand, you have, I would say, majority of the industry does leverage services of Open Force and other competitors in the space because they want that extra added level of protection. But when you're in conversations, I'll start with you, Carly, on this. When you're talking to someone who's not using a TPA today, and you're trying to sell them or show them the value prop for why, like, what are you talking to them about?
So real quick, like backing up a little bit to answer your question, when Prop 22 came out, people were freaking out.
Yeah.
They were like, what do we do? Do we just go to employees because we're instantly going to get reclassified? And then it was like the scare, if you go to employees and then you transition back to ICs, you're automatically slapped with, a lawsuit.
Yeah.
And so there's just been so much fear in California around this because this was the first one that was passed, that I think that people in California are scared to make these moves. And now fast forward, a new administration is in town, and literally one of these calls I get a few weeks ago was like, hey, I'm ready to take on a little bit more risk, I think, because of the new administration. I'm like, well, that shouldn't be why you're doing it, but I hear you, right? Like, so, and part of the conversation is, okay, to Wendy's point, like, how do you get past B? And what can we prove to show that these drivers are truly independent and in business for themselves, but also making sure that you have things set up for Prop 22. You're watching what they're on, engaged on the app, right? You're making sure you're paying them the right way. So it's just ensuring, I think, still compliantly that you're doing things the compliant way.
Right.
We do have legal counsel that helps not give like legal advice, but they help educate you. And so when new things come on, we can say, hey, this is where Prop 22 is going. This is where the new Biden rule has gone. This is where the New Jersey ruling is going. And New Jersey's only getting harder, right? But California's there. We're prepared to set up to go and help our clients do these things. We're working with a client right now in New Jersey to say, this is how we can set it up and set your drivers up for success, to set you up for success. And as long as they know their rules and where they lie and where they sit as a partner with you, we have a better chance, right?
Yeah.
It's never going to be bulletproof. Like, we can never say, we're going to stop you from getting audited.
Yeah.
We're going to stop you from having to get reclassified. Anybody can sue anybody. I could sue you and say I worked for last to first and go get an unemployment claim or whatever I want.
We'll take you.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't afford you yet.
I'll help with marketing.
Yes.
But anybody can sue anybody for anything, right? So you can't fully take that shield off, but we can do everything we can to build that in and help. But those are the conversations right now. It's like, it's funny when you see a change in administration where the fear goes and where the fear lies.
Oh, I've seen it over many cycles.
Yeah.
You know, the politics does move the needle in this space and many other spaces too. But have you run into this experience where people just kind of like, I don't see the value there?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you a simple example. Doug Graz, our general counsel, he was with a trucking company, and they were pretty buttoned up. I mean, he is with the Transportation Lawyers Association. He's a well-known historian of the independent contractor model. Yeah. He built a tight ship over there. And so then, because he built such a tight ship, he started running audits just to make sure that everything was. And at the end of the day, he started looking around for a third party for this reason. When he did the audits, he would see the things that those that were out, working with the owner operators every day were doing. They were writing on the contracts. They were saying things they shouldn't say. They were keeping things in the wrong filing it was as well as he thought he built that mousetrap, he failed the audits miserably and so he started to realize that no matter how strong he thought he built that model, the day-to-day execution of that model were the frontline folks who really didn't understand it as well and who were misstepping all over the place and doing things that were putting the company at risk. Yeah. And so the natural separation that happens when you bring in a third party and you move that risk and you create separation between what the contracting company is doing and what OpenForce is doing, OpenForce is then taking on a lot of the work, and the technology is actually capturing a lot of the things that he was failing in the audit. And we laugh about it today within the OpenForce team because his workflows are notorious. Are notorious. Everybody talks about how buttoned up they. I mean, he had so many yes/no questions in there, so many things that they could use as proof points. Yeah. Talk about risk versus efficiency, right? I mean,
it was not efficient at all.
It could have been a tank driving down the freeway, and nobody would have been able to breach that. But at the end of the day, the system is that robust that it can do that. And he was so impressed by what it was capable of doing from a risk versus efficiency perspective that he ended up coming on board with us because he believes so strongly in the value prop. And it sold him entirely on outsourcing that portion of it because there was really no way he could bulletproof it to the degree that he thought he could.
Yeah, it's like the saying goes, you're only as good as your weakest link.
Right.
And I mean, from an operations standpoint, so many companies that you get bigger and larger, you may feel like you got it all buttoned up in HQ and headquarters, but as you get to, market 3, market 5, market 10, and there's some manager there that maybe just got signed on 3 months ago, he or she may not have any awareness or, and I often say, and my mom taught me this very, very early in this business, the devil's in the details.
Yep.
It is.
And man, was she right.
She's
right. I was
right.
going to add to that, like one
She's
of our
100%
prospects loves Fountain because they have the messaging system back and forth. And I said, I love that you love that. Just know that opens you up to more risk because you don't know what your onboarding specialists are saying to these drivers
in writing
to get
evidence.
Them on. And so I'm like, we can do that. We can build templates for you to still have the messaging, right? But to just leave
Controlled.
it open-ended for you to leave it open, it's like that's going to set you up.
Yeah.
But just to give you one example, to the devil's in the details, they will pull every record of every single message you sent to those onboarded drivers and say, how are you getting them to on board, right? And it's interesting.
Yeah, we saw a demo once where a prospect was looking, saying, okay, can you guys do something similar? And I watched and I said, okay, I'm watching this message go back and forth, and that right there, you just created evidence for misclassification. You will lose because they will pull that record, and you now have a target on the back of this company by doing that.
Yeah. No, great point. Let's segue a little bit. You speak about workflows, right? And so the second elephant in this room, there's a lawsuit out there And the first question, before we get into the details of it, I reached out to you early on when I read about this, and it was one of those moments for me. I was sitting back then, I read it, and I was like, all right, Jason, are you going to jump into this? Are you going to talk about this? Or are you going to kind of stay on the sideline and watch it happen? And it took a little bit of a little oomph for me to kind of, make a post about it. I'm glad I did that. And here's why I'm glad I did that. Because, my whole goal with this whole podcast is to bring awareness to this industry. Obviously, no one likes to be in a lawsuit. But I will say that it has brought a number of people to the table, and I'm excited that you're here now. But what brought you here today? What maybe has gotten you to a point where you're ready to speak a little bit more about this?
So what brought me here today is different than the lawsuit. So let me address that first.
Sure.
I've been watching your podcast for a while and been really impressed with what you're doing. We talked about this a couple weeks ago as we were thinking about putting this together. I love the stories of the industry. For me, it's about the stories of the independent contractors. For example, I told you the story of the master contractor that worked for us years ago, walked up to me, handed me his business card, thanked me at an NHDA retreat, and he said, years ago, you guys helped me with cash advance and medical and dental and the pay that I needed. And it was, he said, it was Open Force that really helped me to get to where I am today. And today here I am at Home Delivery World, closing another piece of business, and I have 50 trucks in my fleet.
Wow.
And it's the stories. For me, it's the stories that we tell internally about the independent contractors and the master contractors that are out there doing the work every day. So what I loved immediately about your podcast is that you're telling the stories of the contract company owners and the movers and shakers that have been out doing the work. And this work is hard. This is not an easy industry, but it makes the country go. I mean, all of the deliveries that come and go every single day in this country are on the backs of the contracting companies and the independent contractors that work in this industry. And so to hear these stories, I love it. So I was immediately hooked because I love hearing just the journey of each person that you've been talking to. And so I knew that I wanted to come on the show and support you and do so. I wasn't exactly sure how because I knew all of that was going on with the lawsuit over here. And so it's given us an opportunity to come on and bring Carly back on and for us to support you and what you're doing, because I think it's powerful. And I think you need to keep doing it. And I think the industry needs to have a voice and for us to tell the stories. It's the stories of all the people that I've met that have made me love this industry. And so you're just getting it on air, and I love that about this.
I appreciate that.
That said, obviously there's not really a lot I can say about an active complaint that we have going on right now. I will say that we take our trade secrets and intellectual property seriously. And what we allege in the complaint, you can read. It's a very lengthy complaint, but I suggest that if you really want to understand why we had the concerns that we did after our very intensive investigation, I think you should read it from beginning to end, because when you get all the way through it to the end, you kind of understand a little bit more about why we felt the need to do what we did. But you have multiple employees on multiple occasions getting into our system, digging into our workflows, and misappropriating fraudulently, we allege fraudulently misappropriating our trade secrets. And so beyond that, I think it's a matter of looking at the investigation and understanding that we take our intellectual property seriously, and we take our agreements seriously. We have a lot of partners, we have a lot of clients, and when we make agreements with those clients and partners, we believe that it's important to keep our agreements. And so all of that's in the complaint. You can read it and understand why we did what we did, and we're anxious to pursue that in litigation.
One of the things that I said this publicly on, I think on one of my posts, that really intrigues me when you cut through, the allegations and the court system will take care of that, right? I mean, we'll all see what happens there. It comes down to the customer, to the storytellers, the people that are doing this work that we talked about. And I was doing a little homework last night, and I have a quote, one of your quotes I'm going to read to you, and I want to get your reaction from this, given the lawsuit, because I think that's where I believe whether you win, lose, or draw in the legal system, like ultimately it's about the customers. It's about the people that have, you've been supporting all these years as an organization. So your quote is, "The greatest leadership lesson I've learned is that you must accept the brutal truth about how your customers and employees feel about your company." What do you think the customers in the marketplace are saying about OpenForce today? And I say that in light of one of the other arguments you may hear on the other side is that we're hearing feedback from the customers of what they want, what they're not getting. And so that's kind of my question is when you're sitting there with that, do you sense that is some part of the issue here, that the customers may not have felt like they're getting what they needed from OpenForce?
So I think that's unrelated.
Okay.
I think that when you have, as we allege, the misappropriation of intellectual property and trade secrets, I think that's different. And I think that complaint will stand for itself and we'll pursue that in litigation. But I think what you're asking is, what are some of the strengths and weaknesses that OpenForce has? Yeah, we are working on a number of things that we're very excited about. We have had... Look, this is a complex industry, and it is a complex technology that we've built in order to support that industry. And what we're rolling out right now with our master toolkit, for example, it is a very complex, multi-layered level of visibility between an enterprise, a master contractor, the subcontractors and helpers. And it allows the master contractors to be able to bring on a sub and then inactivate that sub on the fly, because when they get on that truck, they need to be able to do it in the moment, because you cannot have that subcontractor on the truck and not be covered by insurance, for example, right? So, and not be covered by compliance. And so, but yet even at that level, you still have to have the enterprise still has to have some visibility into all of that. And so you've got this multi-layered level of technology, enterprise technology, that we're building and in the process of rolling out. So while that's going on over here, we are in the process now of prototyping an enrollment, an AI-enabled enrollment that's going to wow the industry. It's not anything anybody's ever seen before, including what's in the market today, and we're very excited about it. But these things take time, not because we could throw a technology out tomorrow, Jason. It's easy to do. Anybody can do it, right? With AI now, you can AI code anything. But to do it in a way, by location, by zip code, taking into account everything we've known for 24 years about misclassification and the rules and regulations by state, you can't just throw it out there. You've got to do it in a way that matters between a contracting company, a master, a sub, a helper. You've got all of these complexities that you're running this through, and you've got to choose vendors that understand that, and they're not going to throw technology out there that's going to put the client company at risk or is going to put the independent contractor at risk. So we're constantly balancing what we're putting in the market against all of those factors. We have been for a long time. It's made us number one. But yes, are we being pressured to do more from an efficiency perspective? Sure.
Well, I was going to say, that's to add to her, like, competition's a good thing in my mind. Like, it forces you to look at yourself, right? Like SCI saying they have their dock detection. Great. Well, we're going to look at what do we have that can set us apart. Everybody wants something that can set us apart, right? If we have competition, what makes us more special than the other? Right? We're going to, no company is perfect on the inside. We all have things that we can work on. But if you're hearing things like, oh, maybe our stuff is old, or maybe this or that, you're either hearing it from a grapevine that isn't true, right? or two, you're just not using our stuff the right way, because we have things that have been built, you just don't know about it. And that's part of the reasons why I came over to Open Force, right? Hearing what the industry is saying, right? Like, hey, maybe we can step up our game with customer service. That I come from customer service, bartender, server, right? DDI, account manager. So helping build these efficiencies to change the game, to help review what we've done for so long to build to make us great. So just to add really quick and totally cut you off, but
No,
on top of
you're
that real quick on competition, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's competition is a good thing. It helps us review what we need to improve and how we're going to grow and stay number one.
Yeah. And I saw Pete's podcast a couple weeks ago, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. It's, we've been going toe to toe with them for a long time. And if they've got this over here and it's better, and we've got this over here and it's better, that's healthy. That's what you do. Right. And okay. So if I want to see what they're doing. That's a part of studying and understanding what your competitors are doing. What we allege in the complaint is very different than that. That's a different level of misappropriation and digging in and trying to take those things and circumvent 24 years of understanding and learning. You guys also talked about Rob. Rob was a terrible loss to us, and
to the industry, to
the industry.
Yeah,
I mean, and we miss him. I miss him every day, because every day, Jason, Rob would text me.
I'm sure.
Every day he would text me to tell me what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. And
no problem doing that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Every day.
So
hey,
I should
have you
start
thought?
doing that?
Oh yes, exactly. So and so said this, or have you thought about this? And it's constantly looking at all these different things that he can do, and pushing me, right? Pushing me. That said, that's a part of business.
Yeah.
But to take all of that understanding and learning and the time in front of judges and auditors and all of that we've built into the system and just go in and take it, we take issue with that.
Yeah, yeah. And look, that's your right. I can certainly understand. Everyone has a right to defend themselves, to protect, their organization, right, in the marketplace. I do appreciate you both saying you believe in competition, because I think this is last time I checked, America's built on that, right?
Absolutely.
That's what we want to happen. That creates and strives innovation. But I will say, in this particular case, you hit the point. It goes back to the customer, because on a couple fronts. And as a former customer of your services, other services in the marketplace, the thing that I thought about the most, I think everybody out there should be thinking about, is who's going to have my back. Like, I mean, you can put whatever flag you want to put on whoever the TPA is, but like at the end of the day, when rubber meets the road, when you're up the creek, like who's going to be there, or who's going to keep me from getting in that position, right? And so I think, again, surrounding all the noise surrounding the issue, at the end of the day, it comes down to that.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting on the sidelines. So we'll see how this plays out. But my advice, anybody, unsolicited advice, everybody's asking me is do what's best for the customer. Yeah. And I think you can never go wrong with that approach.
Right. And we absolutely are, in our opinion, doing what's best for the customer, because we need to protect our customers who didn't realize that this was going on, that these things were happening in the way that they were. And so we need to protect our customer. We need to protect their rights, and they don't always understand some of the things that are going on, and we need to make sure that they do, and we're protecting them in the process of filing this complaint.
Yeah. All right. So now that we addressed both of these elephants in the room, let's talk about your origin, Wendy. I'm really fascinated about this, because you said it earlier, there's just not a lot of women in this industry, and certainly not women in the position that you've been in. But you didn't always start here, obviously. You had to work your way up and earn it every step of the way, I imagine.
Yeah.
I want you to take us back to like your early origins. Like, where did you grow up? Where the passion and the desire to ascend to where you have ventured to? Where'd that originate from?
Well, I think where I started from and where I aspired to do something like this might be a little bit different. I grew up on the Navajo Reservation up in the Four Corners area, here in Arizona and New Mexico, that Four Corners area. And I think there's a lot of key learnings that you learn when you grow up and go to reservation schools, and blonde hair, blue eyed little, you know, looking different from everybody else.
Yeah, you didn't necessarily look like you fit in.
Yeah, no, not at all. But today, all of those years later, I'm a part of clan system there, and I have many children that call me grandma, or mom, or even auntie. And so it's definitely a part of who I am, and I spend a lot of time there on my vacations and weekends and whatnot. We were just there a couple weeks ago for a baseball camp that we put on.
Baseball camp?
Yeah.
You're an athlete?
For
Play
Native
baseball?
children.
Did you play?
No, I don't actually at all. So I would love to say that I do. No, not at all. My husband was 30 years in softball, and he was a coach and played for years in the military. He's a retired Air Force veteran. So he was actually coaching. He was there coaching, and I was supporting and sort of working and, helping serve food, because we always provide food for breakfast and for lunch for the children that come. Yeah. And, just doing things like that. That's part of my passion. Native children, Native teens, different activities and needs that they have, and providing for those.
Let me stop you for a second, because when I read about that and did that homework, one, I didn't know that about you. I thought that was fascinating. But two, it got me to thinking about, maybe some of the ties, connections, to you being in an environment where a lot of underrepresented people, I would say. Mm-hmm. And that's very similar to what we find here in the IC world, right? Talking about IC drivers. Mm-hmm. Do you think there's any parallels there between kind of your appreciation for being in a community of somewhat underrepresented individuals and the work you do today?
Yes, I certainly do. I think I have a passion for people, mm-hmm. and for people's stories, and for helping people. And when I first got in at Open Force, and I started to understand now that there's a long journey of
we're gonna get into
professional development but I get into this place, and we start hearing these stories from these independent contractors who are struggling. They're trying to do their thing every day. Mm-hmm. And I loved the concept. I loved helping small businesses get better at what they do. And I'm also, my husband's a retired Air Force veteran. So providing a tool and resources for people to actually grow a small business in this country mm-hmm. is good for this country, right? Small business helps this country really work every single day. And so being a part of that was also part of my passion. But, I think where I think it's really impacted my leadership mm-hmm. is through the culture that we built at Open Force. We have a fantastic culture. I heard this once from, I don't know if he originally said it or got it from someone else, but from the CEO of Netflix, which is culture eats strategy for lunch. Yes. And in order to build a strong culture, you have to care mm-hmm. about everybody that works for you. Yeah. And you have to understand what they're going through. And mm-hmm. You mentioned the Mandy story. That was very sweet of her. But you have to realize the impact of the situations you put people in, and what they're capable of doing, and what you believe they're able to do, mm-hmm. but also having compassion and empathy to say, all right, it's a lot, and what can I do? How can I help you? Yeah. My job is to remove stumbling blocks for everyone at our company, and to make sure that they can thrive and be successful. And so I think that probably is related to my growing up experience, and loving everybody that works for us, and trying to make sure that they all feel like they have a place. Yeah. That said, making sure that they perform and do what they need to do, that's also obviously a part of it as well. Yeah.
I've also read, and just talking to a couple of people, a big part of your leadership style is being honest, being truthful, wanting to hear directly from the customers or from the staff, employees, about what are the issues. Like, you're not someone that runs away from, the problem. which I think you have to have in any leadership position.
Oh yeah,
no matter-
she goes head on.
Yeah. And so I'm curious.
way.
Yeah, and I hope this doesn't come out the wrong way because I'm obviously I'm not a woman. I don't know, but as a woman, and we'll talk a little bit more about your career and the steps along your journey. Have you found it to be a delicate balance? Like when you have to be assertive at times and commanding of a room and very direct. But sometimes, we try to put people, women, whoever it is, in a certain box and say, well, you I don't like the way that feels or it doesn't look, or like, have you had to navigate any scenarios or situations where like you maybe can't be yourself, or you're feeling like you haven't been able to be as authentic, or you just kind of blow right through it and it is what it is?
So there have been times where I have felt the need to be less authentic in order to succeed. But I was raised by a mom. First of all, I was raised by a grandma who came over from Sicily and she was a firecracker. And she was
you
like,
can curse on this podcast.
she was like
Yes, I do.
this big, and everybody in the family, she kind of ran she was powerful. She only had a third grade education, but boy, you would never have known it. She could have run a company. Then my mom got her PhD when I was in high school, and she fought through in order to do that, in the early to mid 80s. That was not an easy task, and she faced a lot of those same kinds of things you're talking about. But I watched her fight her way through it. And so when I got into my career, I really felt like there was nothing that was going to stop me. I was of the generation of, well, if they could do it, I can do it. And so I felt kind of fearless that way until I ran into people who started putting me in my place. And I chose a career path that was very male dominated.
Yeah.
I started early in my career with Sprint, for example. I worked my way up on the training side, which there's a lot more women in that. But then I moved over to the troubleshooting side of the technology. And so once you start getting over the troubleshooting side and then operations and technology, and I ended up co-owning a telecommunications company, all men. I was the only woman in the company. Wow. And we put up these big OC3s on mountaintops and these
What's an OC3?
towers. OC3 T1s, these big internet connections, wireless internet connections.
I didn't know what it was, but I figured it was so you can connect to the internet. Yeah. It's just
so you're putting these on these towers, and you have all these engineers that you're working with, and I was the only woman always, but it never bothered me. I think being in male-dominated industries, you begin to learn how to find your voice, and you have to be authentic, or you will either become very difficult to work with, and nobody wants to work with somebody like that, or you have to really learn to be authentic and to strive to be the kind of leader that people want to work with. Yeah. And I think the most important thing is you have to be competent. You have to know what you're doing. You have to get the education, the training you need in order to do a good job, and then you just do that great job every single day. Yeah. You rock the job that you're in. You nail it every day. You come in and you do the absolute best job that you can, and people notice, and you begin to rise, and you begin to be tapped to do other things. I was early in my career tapped to be on a quality team to apply for a quality award in the state of New Mexico, and we won. As a team, we won that award, but it was just leading and just killing it every day that caused folks to take notice and ended up putting me on that team. And those are the kinds of things that you have to do in order to survive in a male-dominated space.
Yeah. I get a little emotional thinking about it because I lost my grandmother 3 days ago. And,
sorry,
yeah, no,
Jason, I'm so sorry for your loss.
No, she's in a much better place now. But 94 years old, lived a beautiful life. But she she left her hometown, a little small country town in central Louisiana, at 14 years old to move to New Orleans to go to a boarding school, which was run by the Sisters of the Holy Family. It's a Catholic organization. And, you know, despite all the odds and obstacles, became the valedictorian of the school. And then she skipped a couple grades. And then she went into a professional career, ultimately met my grandfather and started a family. But, you know, you're reminded of like the plight and sometimes the difficulty of being a woman, certainly back in those times.
Yeah.
And it's just good to see, you know, you kind of representing, you know, the outcome of that, where we're still having challenges, but not as many obstacles today, fortunately. But it reminds me of the strength of a woman, right? You have to mother us, raise us, but also lead us, both personally, but also professionally. Yeah. And so just listen to you, it reminded me of that. So sorry for having a little moment there.
Oh, I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
But you're 100% right. Yeah. And having more female voices in the room allow for more female opportunities. And that's, you know, you talk about DEI, that's what it's all about, right? You need voices in the room representing people that can do the job from multiple genders and races, and that's what it's all about. It's representation. Yeah. And people can do the job. Just because I'm a female doesn't mean I make a good female CEO. Sure. I have to work at it, right? And so, you know, I think those are important things too, is you have to be good, you have to be competent at what you're doing, and you have to fight every day to continue to make yourself better, but also to continue to serve. Because in my opinion, a good leader is somebody who is working to remove the stumbling blocks and help the people who are doing it every day get better and better.
A servant leadership is the key. Carla, I want to bring you back into this because you're certainly a woman. We talked a little bit about this on our first podcast. I won't repeat the same question, but I know personally you experienced something that none of us ever want to experience. It was like a great tragedy that I'm sure has reshaped your life in every capacity.
Yes.
So I just want to give you time to talk about it, what that experience was. It was the Las Vegas shooting, I'll say, and you were unfortunately in the crowd that night.
Yep, I was there.
But just talk about that experience and then how has that shaped you personally and maybe even professionally?
Yeah, my heart's pounding. So I was there that night, right? And sorry, that got me.
Remind me the year this was.
This is in 2017.
2017.
So you never know when it's going to like affect you, right? When you have to talk about it. Sorry.
Oh, take your time.
It's okay.
Take your time.
Normally I'm okay with this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's really shaped me a lot, you know. Beforehand, going into my career and who I was, I think about how I would handle situations or who I was. And coming out of that, it's built a whole different confidence in me in the way I didn't know possible, right? Not saying I was like a naive person before, but, you know, I go into situations and I think I've dealt with the worst of the worst. Yeah. So going into talking about dealing with a hard situation, I can do that. Or it's given me a different level of empathy for people where I can be there for my coworkers or the people that I'm trying to mentor and say, hey, we can get through anything. And yeah, I have trauma, but everybody has a certain level of trauma that they've gone through. My trauma just isn't as grave as yours. It's really relative in a way. So I am writing a book about it, which I've kind of mentioned to you, and we're going to release it on the anniversary this year of the shooting. So
what's the book called?
It's called The 13th Floor, and you'll find out why in the book, why we came up with that name. But it deals with you get to find out everything that happened to me that night, everything I went through. And that's really the crux in the beginning of it. But then also we talk about trauma and giving companies a roadmap to how to handle trauma for their employees, but then also a roadmap of how to set yourself up for success. If something were to happen to you in your place of business, and how can you create a roadmap for that as well? Yeah. So that's what the book is. But I think as a leader, it's going through that event. I never knew going back how much I would have grown from that and really create like Aaron back at DDI. He always said, once you get confidence, you're going to be unstoppable. Because that was my biggest thing was I just needed a little confidence.
Yeah.
I'd be scared to get up there and talk. And now look at me, I'm on your podcast twice. So,
Two-timer.
yeah. So
I think it also brings up, I think, a really important part of culture, which is culture is about people. And people have all sorts of experiences, trauma. I think COVID had a tremendous effect, negative effect on people's mental health in the workplace. Yeah. And now you have a whole generation of kids that were, struggling at the time, and they're coming into the workforce, and everybody comes to the workforce. They don't come in wanting to do a bad job. They come in, with high hopes and they want to do well. So if you set strong expectations, but you also meet them where they are, and you try and understand who they are and what drives them and what's important to them, you begin to understand how to create a good culture because you begin to understand where people are at, not just, the work that they're providing every day that's valuable to the business, but also what they struggle with and what are the human elements. How are they doing from a mental health perspective? Those are all things that build a great culture that you need to find and build within a company. And I think it's important. Yeah.
Yeah. I've said it maybe a couple of times in the podcast that I didn't have the appreciation for culture early on in my career. It was kind of just head down, get this revenue mark. And it wasn't until we lost a major account, like 40% of our revenue, that I had to reshift everything. And I kind of had to go back to kind of my roots in sports. We're just talking about my kids in sports. I play quarterback in football, so when you play that position, you kind of gotta be the leader of all these different people. And we had a really successful year and a team my junior year. And what I attributed success to was you had guys from every walk of life, every socioeconomic background, every part of the community in New Orleans where I come from. And I got to know them all at an intimate level, and I felt close to them. We would, if there was a party, the whole team going to the party, like not just a few guys. Yeah. And you talk about when people come to an organization, what they're looking for. I think every one of us wants to be a part of something bigger than us. Yeah. But we can see right through it if it's a bunch of BS. Yeah. Right. So it's got to be authentic. It's got to be real. It's got to be sourced in. I really care about you. You care about me. And it's harder and harder today to do that. I think with the environments we're in. I know last week you guys had something at the office where you brought everybody in together. Yeah, we had
all of our leadership meetings at the office.
How'd they go?
Week. And our technology summit, it went very well. Yeah.
How many people are part of the organization that came in?
We had 30 or so there Monday and Tuesday for the leadership meeting. Then the technology and product summits. We had a customer experience summit. So we had throughout the week probably 50 or 60 people were coming in and out. Wow. We have 100 and, depending on the day, 120 employees, but they're all over the country and in Canada. So once in a while we bring them all in and we're whiteboarding and, trying to figure out what our next few months are going to look like. Yeah.
All right, so I want to segue into maybe from the last part of the interview, which is, I want to get into more about OpenForce and kind of what the value prop is today, what OpenForce is bringing in. I want to do that by talking one more time about your background. So I know you came to OpenForce after a career in telecom. You worked for Sprint. You did your own business, SCS Connect, for about a decade or so.
About 12 years.
About 12 years. And you joined OpenForce as the COO, I believe.
Yes. So between there, I was the COO of a HRS and payroll company.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So that's yes.
Infinity HR, and so I had sold my shares of SCS Connect. I was looking around. I decided I wanted to move into software, and I really loved the HRS and payroll space, and so I started with them. Quickly became the COO. The owner at the time wanted me to help position the company for sale, so that's what I did. While I was there, we had a lot of admins at companies with W-2 employees that were trying to figure out what to do with their 1099s. They were trying to figure out how to make our HRIS payroll platform. We were a payroll integrator, so we had multiple companies, partners that we worked with. So we were trying to help. They were trying to get us to help them plug those 1099s into their system. And we kept saying, this is a really bad idea. You do not want to put your 1099s into time and attendance. That's a bad idea.
Bad
and they're
idea.
like, oh, well, but it's more efficient, right? We talked a lot about efficiency. There's a lot you can do from a tech perspective that creates a lot of efficiency, but it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. And it doesn't mean it's not going to show up in court at some point. And so I would tell them, no, you don't want to do this. This puts a target on the back of the company and trying to explain, but they would do it anyway. And because it was their technology, they were licensing it to do what they wanted to do. And, large populations of 1099. So when you're looking at, 5 1099s, okay, it's not as risky, especially if they're programmers or whatever. But when you're looking at 1,000 1099s and they're out delivering stuff, it's a lot more risky, right? So as I was looking around and trying to figure out what I wanted to do next, Open Force reached out and we started having conversations about the COO role. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize, there is a company out there that solves this problem.
it's kind
I
of
was like,
tailor-made.
I am all in. Because I was like HR, on the W-2 side, now
Yeah.
moving the 1099 side. And I thought, oh, how hard could it
the
be? This is
perfect
going to be,
blend
it's going to be
of-
just two sides of the industry, right? That human capital management industry. I thought it would be really easy. I get in and my head exploded. It was so much learning in such a short period of time because it's not just about W-2 versus 1099. It is by industry, all of the different insurances and compliance requirements and all the different things. And so it has been a ride ever since. And about a year in, they tapped me to take on CEO, and it was right in the middle of COVID. So that was try and build a
Booming.
culture in when you're taking on CEO in the middle of a pandemic. That was
Well, in
it
this
was a rough
pandemic for
time.
you, it was booming because that's when delivery took off too. So now your clients are going 10x.
It was
too.
crazy.
Yeah,
Well, the
everything was
first couple
exploding.
months, everybody was going, whoa, because
Yeah.
we had a lot of retail, delivery companies that had to switch to essential services, right? So or essential goods and services. So we had a lot of shifting going on for the first couple months, and then things just
Took off. Yeah.
took off. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what led you to the CEO role, right? But you had a lot of success during COVID because obviously things exploded. You were able to navigate and manage the ship through a lot of growth.
Yeah.
When you got into the CEO role, and obviously bring Carly back into this part now, when you're looking ahead now, so now you've every good CEO, great CEO, I know is a visionary, right? Every organization has to have that person top looking 3-5 years ahead.
Yep.
Where do you see Open Force role in what you see in the next 3-5 years from this marketplace? I know you do other things outside transportation, but kind of specific to transportation. And whoever wants to go, give me some specifics, what's on the roadmap to not just solve a lot of the problems that are in the marketplace today, but kind of position folks, drivers, masters, carriers for what's coming down the road ahead. Because it's going to be a little crazy. The world's constantly changing, right? So what are you doing organizationally to help folks prepare for that?
Let me start by talking a little bit about what we've done in the last year or two. We've been really shoring up security because with all of the new AI-enabled everything, hackers are getting smarter.
Yeah.
The way of the world right now, you've got to be very, very buttoned up when it comes to security or data is going to be breached. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so most companies should be putting security as their number one top priority. We've been doing that for a few years now. We've built up enough to where we're now SOC 2 Type 2 certified, which is for software. That's where you are audited twice a year to make sure that you are secure. We have to do the penetration testing where they're coming in, they're trying to see if there's any way to get into our system. Wow. And it's a big investment in order to do that. And it's like getting your financials getting audited every year, right? You're doing that because you want to be able to say, we are clean and we are audited. Well, we're doing that on the security side as well. And I think that's really important because we've done that as a framework to say, all right, so now some of the exciting things that we have coming, the partners that we're bringing on, we can't share all of it yet, but we have prototypes that we're working that we're excited that we're going to be rolling out here within the next month or two that are really exciting. But I think education of independent contractors are absolutely on the roadmap. An AI-enabled pre-screen and enrollment is coming sooner rather than later, here within the next probably few months as well. But we're moving in a direction not just for courier and last mile, but also the owner-operators in trucking. We've done a lot of work trying to get the right partners in place so we can really open up for trucking and then beyond trucking into some of the other, expanding into some of the other verticals.
Yeah.
We are looking to be the solution where large populations of independent contractors with large amounts of complexity insurance requirements are needed, and that's what we've been building. And so our roadmap is designed to make it more efficient. It's going to be if you used our technology 2 years ago, it is not the same. Yeah. And so it's going to be an exciting ride for the next couple of years.
Yeah. Carly, one of the things we spoke about on when you were on the podcast last time was we're talking about Walmart, and I had did some research, and I know Walmart has some gamification happening to kind of incentivize drivers, keep them busy. Any plans, anything you're looking at there to bring to OpenForce?
Yeah, and stuff that I helped them set up right on their side because I sat on their e-commerce platform. And with OpenForce, we have our marketplace today where drivers can go, they can tap into perks. That's one. But it's really taking and looking and working with our clients to say, hey, client, you have goals you need to meet, KPIs, right? What are you doing to help incentivize your drivers to help reach those KPIs? But how are you doing it compliantly and setting it up, right? And then two, how are you looking at it holistically? Like, are you just doing it and being like, here, we're just going to give you money? Well, that's probably not compliant. But hey, are there goals that you can achieve that you can opt into? And what are those? And then what are they achieving, right? Is it, it's different things. Can they tap into, like Walmart had the Walmart Plus, and then they had some additional perks. Yeah. It wasn't just money. So you could cut costs and not have to just pay out of pocket. So there's different ways. And so it's working with our clients because the drivers aren't our drivers, right? They're our partners. Yeah. The drivers aren't our clients' drivers. They're their partners. So it's working really with our clients to say, let's set up something that's successful for our vendor partners to make sure that we're incentivizing them to help hit your KPIs that you want to be successful at the end of the day. Yeah. So,
I love that. I think I also said this when I was posting about the lawsuit. Like, it showed the value of the driver. Yeah. Right. I mean, the drivers are huge. I probably shouldn't say this publicly, but I'll say it. I'm an idiot sometimes. But in my past career at QCS, I would often tell drivers, this is really bad. Gosh, forgive me.
I might cringe.
I would tell drivers, like, we don't pay you to think, we pay you to drive. Let the dispatch make the decisions for you, right? It was probably, it came out the wrong way, but the point was just like, let the technology, let the system do it. Don't go off script. And obviously, these independent contractors, and thank God I'm not in the business anymore.
Okay.
Somebody's probably
that's why he's doing this.
And I think I'm past the statute of limitation
why
too.
That's probably not the right way to say that.
It's all wrong. All wrong. I should have called you.
Yeah, you should have. I would have helped you.
But I think there's so much change nowadays because just the shift in what's happening. I think we first started seeing this with FedEx moved to this kind of massive contract model years ago as a response to their legal issues, and you're seeing more and more responsibility being pushed downstream. And so you have to have a way of doing it compliantly, but also incentivizing it, whether it be monetarily or other ways. So I think you have to really, it comes back to the driver. Anyone who's on a delivery business knows this, but oftentimes they've been kind of an afterthought in many cases.
It does, but it also comes back to the client too. I mean, right? Like, no matter what, if and what I mean by that is, like, you want to make sure that the driver's doing it correctly. Because let's say they do get in an accident. yeah, they might sue the driver, but they see that logo on the van, they're instantly going back to the client.
Yeah.
They're going to chase the money at the end of the day. So the happier the driver, the more you might get out of them. Really, it's like a motto. Like, I know it's not going to fix everything, but if you can keep the driver in mind when you're building out things and processes and culture, well, yeah, you technically shouldn't really always include them in your culture, but if there's things that you can do to honor them, like Driver Appreciation Week for trucking is coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Do things to honor them, make them feel valuable, because that goes a long way regardless. Like, people just want to be seen, I think, at the end of the day overall, kind of going back to that sentiment of like, we all want to do things that are bigger on a bigger scale, right? Drivers too. I mean, drivers are on the road. People cut them off, they feel like they're just another number sometimes, right? But it's showing them that you still care regardless of the relationship at some point, but doing it compliantly.
Yeah. I would add that I think it's getting more and more important for the driver to make the decisions for their business, to prove that they made the decision, right? Because with the economic realities test, they have to be able to prove they had an opportunity for profit and loss. So while you can incentivize them and these are all great things, but you also have to prove that they had the opportunity to say yes or no. And they do need to think, and they do need to say, this is important for my business because it's going to help me win. It's going to help me get better over here. Or this is important for my business, but it was a mistake and now I have a loss. So it's that being able to prove that they had the ability to profit, loss, all of the different things that we have to do as business leaders and owners, you have to be able to show that they can do the same. So whatever gamification you're doing, it needs to be within the framework of, hey, would you like to participate? Just like telematics. Telematics are exciting and certainly something that we need to do as an industry, and we're uniquely suited to do it because we have the ability to say, would you like to earn better rates on your insurances by participating in this program? Right. Yes or no. And by doing that, now they have the ability to participate in telematics, and you can prove that they chose that and that they had a driving profit and loss reason to do that. That's where people get stuck. They don't know how to do these things. They don't have to bring these things in a way that mitigates risk instead of increasing the risk for each driver.
That's an interesting point, because one of my questions to you was going to be, it seemed lately that the TPAs are now merging or becoming more insurtech. There's a merging of compliance, third-party administration, and insurance. And I want to ask what's driving that, because I'm in insurance now, and sometimes I don't know who the hell my competition is. I'm like, is it this person, that person, this person? I think it comes back to the driver. The reason
it totally
it's
comes
back
back to
the driver.
yes, absolutely. Yeah. Because when you're going through a workflow, you're a driver, you want to do it quickly on an app, and you don't have the right insurance, but they want you on the road quickly, right? I mean, that's at the end of the day, it's in that moment.
Yes.
And that moment seems so easy. But when you say, oh, you don't have that insurance, here's the right insurance, and it is the right insurance in the right zip code, it's the right rate at the right time. Well, it looks simple to them, but what goes on behind the scenes is a whole lot of insurtech to make sure that all of the rating and the zones and everything is all set up properly based on the size of the vehicle, the weight of the vehicle. All of those things have to kind of come together in that moment to say, here's an insurance product that actually suits your needs, that works just for your industry, and it's pay as you go, right? That's what we do using IC Insure, which is our InsureTech product on the back end of IC Manage that allows that moment to happen. And then if they are moving from one zone to the next, then those things, the rates begin to change. There's a lot of work that has to go in, and that's important for an independent contractor, because for them to go get a cargo policy or to go get a commercial auto policy instead of a while under dispatch, which is a rider, which is usage based, those are real challenges for
and
the
half the time they don't even know what half that means. Right? What you just say?
Wait,
that's a whole different podcast, Jason.
Let's
do one on that. I need a commercial policy, and it's how much of a deposit, and what do I have to? They don't understand that. So we're just offering it in the moment, and SureTech is what begins to facilitate that.
Probably maybe 6 months into me joining insurance and really, getting myself immersed into it, I quickly realized that a lot of this stuff should be held at the TPA level because to the point you just made, right? I mean, I think we talk about the driver, right? The company, probably can still go to the marketplace now, but as things are moving more and more to the driver, it just makes sense. And you mentioned telematics, which I think we have to, we all know about trucking now. Trucking is kind of totally flipped into that world.
Oh, yeah.
We're still struggling to figure that out. And I know why, because of misclassification is the primary reason, but the TPAs are well positioned to administer that.
Yep.
The optionality you talked about.
Yep.
You can provide it at that level.
We have some
and
cool
the ease of
partnerships
onboarding.
with
Yes.
telematics that we're working with too as well that we're excited to bring on too.
Awesome.
for
Awesome.
smart
Yeah.
driving.
I'm all about how we can move the industry in that direction because ultimately it has to go
It
that
has
way.
to go that way.
Right.
We because it just can't continue to go the way it's going.
And misclassification, there's two things in trucking that are really driving. Telematics is one. But in addition, privacy around all this brand new tech where a driver is going from one location to another and now you need all this facial recognition software and all of these things.
Yeah.
And it's like this new generation's coming in and they're like, I'm going to take over this trucking business and it's going to be so much more efficient. They're bringing in all this slick new tech. And all of a sudden, misclassification's growing in trucking because they didn't get the right permissions and they didn't, they
Fraud
aren't
goes up too.
looking at all of the misclassification risks that comes with all of that without doing it properly.
Yeah. I'm gonna pause for a second. We're gonna wrap up.
Yeah.
I want to just close out with 25th anniversary. I want to give you a couple more flowers and get your thoughts on. Carly, I want to make sure you both get a last word in.
Okay.
So I usually ask guests like, "What's your last or first moment?" You'll probably see me say that. So think about that for
What
a
does
second.
that mean?
Well, I have one. Well, like, what's
Yeah.
your favorite moment on the podcast?
Well, no, your last, no, like your
Oh.
personal or professional last or first moment. So it's kind of like that pivotal moment. I'm gonna explain it when I ask the question, but it's basically like that moment where you could have gone left, you went right, or it was like a pivotal moment for you that helped. It could be personal or professional that kind of puts you on the path to where you are now. So I'll kind of close out with that. Okay. All right. So we've had a really, I think, a conversation that covered a lot of different topics here, very substantive. You mentioned earlier, Open Force is celebrating 25 years next year.
Yep.
Next year. And I was around fairly early days when CMS, before it became Open Force, and know Darwan and Dennis and how they got started. And I don't know where they are in the world, but shout out to them for creating something that's been around for almost 25 years.
Dennis is still on our board. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. All right. What's up, Dennis? Miss you, man. So one thing I think about when you think about this industry too, longevity matters, experience matters, right? We trade on that when we're talking to clients in this space, right? It's not just about who has the latest tech or the latest vehicle or whatever. It's who's gonna be there, whose word is gonna matter. What does that mean? 25 years for Open Force in this marketplace. What does that mean to both of y'all?
Oh, first of all, relationships matter. I think, you go back to the years of Dennis and Daryl Ann. When I first started and I started traveling around and introducing, everybody's like, you know Daryl Ann, you know Dennis. I mean, everybody wanted to know how they were doing. And I immediately knew that this was a relationship industry. And when I started developing my own relationships with clients and the CLDA and the NHDA and the ECA and just going to these different events and getting to know people, it matters because when you can sit and have a drink with someone, you can sit and have a meal with someone, you look them in the eye and they begin to see what you're made of and who you really are. And that matters to the people in this industry. And I think that over the years, we've tried to do that. We've tried to be strong partners to the associations that matter in this industry, that are meaningful. You were president of the CLDA, past president. Robin Kirk, past president of the CLDA. You're on the ECA board. Leanne was on the ECA board. I'm on the NHDA board. These are the things I think that are meaningful, but it also allows us the opportunity to set our Open Force hat, take that off for a minute and say, here are the things that matter to the independent contractors that we work with. Here are the things that our clients are saying, and have a voice to help drive the industry forward. Those are the things that I think are so powerful in this industry. I think it matters that we've been around a long time. And in addition, and I think this is a major fact, and that is with all of those years of experience, we've experienced audits. And this is an industry, it's not about preventing it's going to happen because there are too many plaintiffs' attorneys that are going to try and see if they can get some money out of this. So doing right by the IC and the contracting company over the years, we have won with our clients, alongside of our clients. We won in Connecticut not too long ago alongside of our client. They won. And it was because of the way we do the deductions. We were named in the lawsuit as part of the reason. And so those experiences over the years matter, and it's what we build into the system. Yeah. And we vet every single partner against, no, that's not going to work because that's going to put the client company at risk. We can't do that. Right. It's those years of experience, I think, that have given us that understanding and wisdom to know what's the right partner and what isn't. Yeah. In addition, though, I think, the Rob Slack and Kirk, who've been so meaningful within our internal teams, they've educated us. They learned from the School of Hard Knocks, right? They were out on the road doing this every day, and they would inform, no, this is the kind of marketplace company partner we want to have, or this isn't, no, this won't work. And those are meaningful decisions that we're making every single day at Open Force.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My last question to both of you, Carly, I'll start with you first. I'd like to ask our guests their last to first kind of moment. It's kind of that part of your journey that may be personal or professional where it's kind of propelled you from proverbial last to first, right? You could have went left, you went right. What's when you think about that, what's your last to first moment?
Yeah, I mean, we already talked about the shooting, right? But I think for me, it was when we got acquired, when DDI got acquired by Walmart. And I had the decision to, where was I going to go? Was I going to stay on the ECA board? Was I going to step away? Was I going to stay with Walmart? Was I going to step away? Like, where did I lie within the industry? And I was actually like very, very much at odds. Like I found myself crying a lot about like the board meant a lot to me. And so I fought to stay on the board. I fought to stay on the board with Walmart. And they graciously allowed me to stay in that room because I knew I didn't think I was going to be long-term with Walmart forever. I mean, Wendy was already trying to pull me over from the beginning and kind of knowing that in the back of my mind, not just Wendy, I had some other people obviously that I was talking to within this space. And, but Wendy got me. And I think that was like the biggest pivotal moment was that acquisition and saying, I need to see this through, but how is this going to look for me in the future? Yeah. And where am I going to, what is the next 3 years going to look like? Cause I had no idea. I had no idea where I was going to be today. Yeah. In full force. Here I am at Open Force.
Awesome. So. Awesome. And Wendy, I'm going to read a couple of things because I can't remember it, save my life, but your last and first moment, and I want to just give you a couple of flowers before I ask you the question. You serve on several boards. You mentioned the National Home Delivery Association board, Women in Logistics board. Did I say that right? Women in Trucking?
So I'm not on the Women in Trucking board. I just participate with that organization.
So you're involved in that organization.
Yeah, the Alliance of Technology and Women.
Right. But you've also won some awards, the Titan 100, which is a business award here, I think, in the
It's a national organization. Okay. I'm not sure how that happened, but yes.
Sun Devil 100. You're an alum of ASU.
That is an ASU. Yes, right. I'm an ASU alum. Yeah.
And then you last year Arizona Business Leaders to Watch for 2025. Yeah. So you've gotten deservedly so a lot of good recognition, and we talked a little bit about your journey and kind of how you got here. What is your last or first moment? What's that pivotal place where you think about how it's propelled you to where you are today?
You know, when I sold my shares of the telecommunication, that was a long journey in hardware, right? It was telecommunications and hardware on the technology side of the business, and I really wanted to move into software, but I had a decision to make. Either I stayed in hardware and really kind of doubled down and grew, I became very good at the universal services, telecommunications, E-rate funding. I became a grant writer, and I could have gone that direction. But I knew my heart was more in the software. I really wanted to get into software and make that transition. And it was a transition going from hardware to software. You've got a lot of different skill sets that you're using. All technology, yes, but a very different skill set. And so I had to learn quickly the software side of the technology industry. And choosing the company that I did, where I was able to really quickly learn the HCM space, I think was a last to first moment. That journey led me to where I am today, for sure, because it gave me a lot of the framework and the groundwork that I needed to learn in order to get to the place where I could get onto OpenForce and learn as quickly as I did in order to move into this seat.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Wendy, Carly, thank you all for both coming on the Last First podcast. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yes, thank you
Thanks for
thank
having
you
me again.
accepting the invitation.
Yeah.
Thank you for doubling back.
Yeah.
And we appreciate that. But really, thank you all for both what you're doing in this space as leaders, right? Women aside, I respect tremendously what you both have brought to the table, brought to this industry. And you're just getting started, right? So there's a lot happening. It's going to continue to happen. So continued success, and greatly appreciate you guys coming on. And we got to do this again. This can't be the last time we're getting around this table together. So
Bring her on again.
I'll bring her on again. Yeah. So thank you all both. I appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Jason.
That's our in-season exclusive with OpenForce. We have Wendy and Carly on with us. Hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. We'll see you next time. Peace out.